Communities across the country are preparing for large celebrations and gatherings this Independence Day weekend, but some health experts are expressing concern about new COVID infections fueled by the more contagious Delta variant. More Americans are getting vaccinated. The Centers for Disease Control reports the 7-day average of reported doses is up more than 40% over last week. But as CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini reports, the nation will fall short of an important goal set by the Biden administration.
The 4th of July to this year is different than the 4th of July last year, and it's going to be better next year.
Here we go.
America did not reach President Biden's goal of 70% of adults vaccinated by Independence Day. But the White House says there's still reason to celebrate.
Deaths and hospitalizations have fallen 90% since January 20th. And we want to recognize that progress in that work on July 4th.
67% of adults have gotten at least one COVID-19 vaccination, but the numbers vary by state. And southern states in particular are lagging behind, even as the more contagious Delta variant is now present across the country.
I am concerned that people who have not gotten vaccinated have the capacity to catch the variant and spread the variant to other people who have not been vaccinated.
As counties and cities prepare for large holiday crowds,
it's going to be busy.
It's going to be crazy, and I'm going to stay away.
And fireworks celebrations.
Some folks are wearing masks if they want to. Some folks don't have to. You know, it's got to be responsible.
Hi, is Michigan's Governor Whitmer.
A bipartisan group of governors has launched a public service announcement to encourage reluctant residents to roll up their sleeves.
Although cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are down, our rates are not where they ought to be.
And while the numbers are still below where they were in January, the CDC says the U.S. COVID cases spiked, up 10% last week.
Those of you who haven't been vaccinated, don't think about yourself. Think about your family. Think about those around you. That's what we should be thinking about today.
For more, I want to bring in Jody Guest. She's a professor and vice chair of the Department of Epidemiology at Emory University's Rollins School of Public Health. Dr. Guest, thanks for being here. So the Delta variant has now been detected in all 50 states, and according to the CDC, accounts for more than 26% of current U.S. cases. How concerned are you about seeing a surge in cases linked to this holiday weekend and the Delta variant?
Well, I think what we've seen is the Delta variant has taken off across the United States, but it's also taken off in particular parts of the United States where we're going to be the most concerned about gatherings from this holiday weekend. And those would be states in the Rockies and the northern western states of the U.S.
Well, many states have rolled back their COVID restrictions and are gearing up for large crowds this weekend. I know a lot of people are very excited about this return to normalcy, but tell us, what are the risks for both unvaccinated and vaccinated Americans?
So vaccinated Americans are really well protected against the Delta variant. It is the unvaccinated people in the United States that we're really concerned about. What we know is that they're at very high risk of getting COVID-19 based on not being vaccinated, and they're also at a very high risk of spreading it in their communities. And we want to make sure that we don't see kind of two different United States, those who are vaccinated and those who are not. So we're really concerned about communities that don't have high vaccination rates.
Well, as we mentioned, the U.S. is likely to fall short of President Biden's goal of having 70% of Americans vaccinated by July 4th. As you're saying, there are certain parts of the country that have achieved that, but then there are other parts of the country that are far from reaching that benchmark. Vaccination rates are also low among Americans aged 18 to 39, according to the CDC. So what do you think needs to be done to get the shot in more people's arms, particularly in those areas where the vaccination rates are the lowest?
You know, I think that this next group of folks that are going to get vaccinated, it's going to take, it's slower to get them vaccinated. The 18 to 29-year-olds in particular, we're seeing a lot of data that shows that they want to receive the vaccines from their primary care physician or maybe their OBGYN that they go to. And so we want to make sure that we have that available for them. If they're still on college campus settings, we want to be vaccinating on those campuses. And then workplace vaccination events are really important to also help reach this group. It is a slower group, but to get vaccinated, but we want to make sure we talk about how incredibly important it is, particularly with the spread of the Delta variant. We know that 1/3 of hospitalizations since May have been in this 18 to 29-year-old group, which is very different than what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic.
And you said that 1/3 of the hospitalizations, not just the number of cases, but the actual hospitalizations are in that younger group.
That's exactly right.
Important information.
We didn't want to see that.
Yeah. So let's ask about holiday travel, because the CDC has urged people to delay their travels until they're fully vaccinated. But if someone who's unvaccinated must travel, or if someone is traveling with young children who aren't able to be vaccinated yet, what are your tips for keeping everybody safe?
Well, your mask is still really important if you're not vaccinated yet. And so you want to make sure you're wearing it when you're indoors. And you really want to be wearing it if you're indoors and you don't know the vaccination status of the people who are around you. And as you said, if you're traveling with children who are under the age of 12 and are not yet eligible to be vaccinated, that is really important for them to keep their masks on, and the family members who live with them as well. Outdoor spaces continue to be safer than indoor spaces if you're not yet vaccinated. And the states with the highest Delta spread, we want to make sure that those states in particular really are masking up as they are out and about for the holiday weekends.
And one more question for you, Dr. Guest, about the holiday weekend. There are a lot of places that are excited to have their fireworks displays back on, to have parades, and in a lot of cases, that means that people will be outdoors, but might also be clustered tightly together with strangers. Given those circumstances, what are your tips for how people can celebrate safely this weekend if they're planning to be out in these types of public congregations where they are outside, but they're also very closely gathered with people, and you're uncertain about their vaccination status?
Well, masking is never an unwise decision in a situation like that. So I think making sure you have one with you. And if you feel like you're getting too close to people that are not in your group, certainly putting a mask on would be an appropriate thing to consider doing, especially for your kids. And again, in states with lower vaccination rates, you're going to want to be faster to put your mask on. In states with the higher Delta variants that are circulating, and that's Missouri, Nevada, Arkansas, Colorado, Utah. Those are states where I would be really concerned about being in crowds, given the Delta spread.
Really appreciate your specificity on that. I know our viewers do too. Dr. Jody Guest, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for having me.